Singapore may look calm and safe on the surface, but beneath the streetlights and behind closed doors, darker stories whisper through the night. In this series, we uncover 3 chilling tales that will make you question what lurks in familiar places. These are true horrors from Singapore. Welcome back to the Morbid Codex. I was walking home late one night after overtime work. It was close to midnight, and like always, I decided to cut through the void deck to get to the lift lobby. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed faintly, flickering every now and then. It was the kind of silence where you could hear your own footsteps echo. That's when I noticed an old uncle sitting alone on one of the void deck benches. He was hunched forward, hands on his knees, just staring at the ground. At first, I didn't think much of it. Plenty of uncles like to sit at the void deck late at night. But as I got closer, I realized something was off. He wasn't moving. Not a single twitch, not even to scratch his face or adjust his posture. His head was slightly bowed, and the longer I looked, the more I realized he wasn't even blinking. I quickened my pace, and that's when I caught the smell of incense in the air. Thick, heavy, almost like the smoke during the Hungry Ghost Festival. But there were no joss sticks, no offering tables anywhere nearby. Just this still, silent man on the bench. My phone buzzed with a message, slightly startling me. I glanced down for maybe a second to take a look. When I looked back up, the bench was empty. I froze. There was no sound of footsteps, no sign of anyone walking away. The whole void deck was quiet, too quiet. My heart started racing, and I quickly walked to the lift without looking back. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake it off. Every time I came home late, I found myself glancing at that same bench. And sometimes, I saw it again. The same uncle, always in the same position, always facing the ground. But he never disturbed me. Then, a few days later, I was walking past another block nearby and saw a funeral wake being set up. Out of curiosity, I glanced at the portrait placed on the altar, and my stomach dropped. It was him, the same old uncle from the bench. When I asked around, one of the neighbors told me he had passed away in his sleep. The strange thing was, he died a day before the first time I saw him. Now, whenever I pass that void deck at night, I keep my eyes straight ahead, because I know, if I look at that bench again, he might finally be looking up at me. It was a Friday night, and I was taking the last train home from Buena Vista. The carriage was almost empty, just me and a few others scattered around. At Jurong East, most people got off, and that's when I noticed her, a woman sitting about 3 seats away. She wore a plain red dress, long black hair falling over her face, hiding her features. At first, I thought she was just another tired commuter. But then I realized something strange. Her head was tilted slightly to the side, almost like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. Her body was completely still, but the longer I stared, the heavier the air around me felt. By the time we reached Lakeside, everyone else had left the train. It was just me and her now. The silence was unbearable, so I decided to move further down the carriage, closer to the doors. But when I sat down and glanced back, my heart skipped a beat. She was sitting 2 rows closer. I hadn't heard her move. The carriage was silent, and the sound of the train on the tracks was steady. There was no way she could have shifted seats without me noticing. I turned my gaze forward, trying to ignore her, but my ears picked up the faintest sound, like fingernails dragging along the metal poles, slow and deliberate. My throat tightened. I didn't dare to look back. The train pulled into Boonlay, and I didn't even think twice. I rushed out before the doors closed. I stood on the platform, heart pounding, telling myself I was just imagining it. But then, curiosity got the better of me. As the train pulled away, I turned to look inside the carriage one last time. It was empty. No woman. No one at all. I never took the last train anymore, because sometimes I wonder, what would have happened if I had stayed on until the next stop? I live in an old HDB block in Dakota Crescent. My unit is near the far end of a corridor. It's usually quiet at night, except for the occasional neighbor coming home late. It was close to midnight when I got home on Friday night. The corridor was quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. I noticed something strange right away. There were no shoes or slippers outside any of the flats. Not mine, not my neighbor's. Just a bare, empty corridor stretching down both ways. At first, I thought maybe the town council had done some cleaning or pest control and told everyone to bring their shoes in. But then I remembered. I had left my sneakers outside that morning. They were gone too. I pulled out my keys quickly, trying not to think too much about it, wanting to get into my home. And then I heard a faint shuffling, like slippers dragging slowly against the floor. It came from the far end of the corridor, echoing closer. I froze. My hand was still on the doorknob when I heard something else. Soft at first, but growing clearer. A woman's laughter, high-pitched, breathy, almost playful. The hair on the back of my neck stood straight. I didn't wait to see what it was. I shoved my door open, locked it as fast as I could, and went straight to my room. I didn't even shower. I just dove under the blanket, squeezing my eyes shut like a child, hoping that the laughter wouldn't follow me in. When I finally opened my eyes, it was morning. At breakfast, I casually mentioned to my family that there were no shoes outside the units last night. They looked curious, saying maybe I was too tired or imagining things, but I could tell they didn't really believe me. After eating, I stepped out to check for myself. The corridor was back to normal. Shoes, slippers, sandals, all lined neatly outside every unit, including mine, right where I had left them. But the strange thing was, the soles of my sneakers were wet, leaving faint wet footprint on the floor. Till this day, I never knew what it was. In Singapore, the line between the natural and the supernatural is razor thin. Tonight's stories remind us that sometimes the scariest things aren't found in haunted places, but in everyday life. Until the next series of the Morbid Codex, sleep if you can.